critique of capitalism on the macro level is about the instability and the inequality. But on the micro level, let me hammer home, because that's where Marxism is going in your lifetime, more than in mine. At the micro level, the critique is grotesque injustice and anti-democratic organization, which are not only bad in themselves, I'll explain that in a moment, but are also causative of the instability and the inequality at the macro level. What do I mean? The organization of production, the way your typical factory, office, or store are organized. There's a tiny group of people at the top, the owner of the business, the director of the business. If it's a corporate structure, the board of directors. I don't know if you're familiar with this. Most business in America is done by corporation. Corporation is set up. There's owners. Those are people who own shares. And they annually elect a board of directors, typically between 10 and 20 people. They are the capitalists. They are the ones who hire and fire. They are the ones who receive the profits of the enterprise and decide how it's used. They are elected to the position of board by the shareholders. Since 10% of American shareholders own 80% of the shares, it's the richest 10% of the country that control the business system. All right? The vast majority of people are employees. The board of directors, 10 or 20, General Motors has 150, whatever it is, 1,000 workers. The board of directors has 15 people. Okay? So as grotesque as you want, the top, the board of directors, or the owner if it's a little business, has the power to hire and fire you, to deprive you of your income, to deprive your family of its income, to deprive the local community of its survivability whenever he wants. Some people imagine that there are trade unions. The dominant sector of the American economy is privately owned enterprises. Among private employees, labor unions today, as I'm speaking to you, represent 6.5% of them. The other 93.5% have no union. You may read about unions, but you're reading about the 6%. There's a big effort in this country now to organize unions at places like Amazon, Starbucks, and all. But that's a response of an eviscerated working class having to reconstruct a labor movement because it was destroyed as part of that Cold War. So at the local level, you have a dictatorship inside every business, which the working class will tell you about. I am in awe of my manager. If I don't please my manager, I'm toast. I'm gone. Of course I work like an asshole. Of course I come to work early. I'm trying to be secure in a job that has no security. I am terrorized in this workplace. That's the reality. We live the notion that we have a democracy is so ridiculous that it's hard for people like me to keep a straight face, a pleasant manner. I don't want to take it out on whoever I happen to be talking to. But when the United States says it's going around the world bringing democracy, I mean, it's so fraudulent, you don't know where to start. We've never had a democracy in workplaces. We have democracy in the community where we live. We vote for the mayor. We don't vote for the CEO. Workers never vote. They have no vote. Not by law, not by custom, not at all. So there's not even a pretense. There is no democracy. And where is it absent? The workplace. And where do most adults spend most of their life? At the workplace. That's the best hours of every day. You get up in the morning, you brush your teeth, you go to work, and there you pour out your brains and your muscle to be productive and creative. And then on the way home, you stop at a bar to have a happy hour to underscore how unhappy all the other ones were. We know we live in a dictatorship, but we mouth horse shit about democracy because it makes us feel better. The way a bus driver really appreciates if you refer to him or her as a transportation engineer. They might like more money, but they'll take a better title. So that lack of democracy in the workplace is the training ground for accepting the fakery of even the political democracy. So we all know that the rich people buy the politicians. We know how they do it with donations, with lobbyists. We know it. Everybody knows. There's a wonderful song by the Canadian Cohen. I forget his first name. Isn't that interesting? Forgot his first name. He's dead. He died a few years ago. But one of his most famous songs is a song titled Everybody Knows. And he goes through it, what we all know and what we pretend. The insight I owe my wife. One of the things she specializes in as a therapist is people who, as children, suffered incestuous sexual abuse. So when she first started, this was something she thought was an important but rare occurrence in our culture. She then discovered it's everywhere. But there's been everywhere. Rich people, poor people, people in the middle, white people, black people, you name it. Catholic clergy, loads of them. Other clergy, everywhere. Everywhere. But it is important to remember, and this is Freud, that the first thing you ought to think of when something is labeled a taboo is that there's a damn good chance that the articulation of something qua taboo is a method of coping with a reality. It's rare. It happens in the backwoods of Maine. No, it isn't. But it is so difficult to cope with that the culture, including the victims of it, don't know. If my wife were here, she would tell you of all the clients she's had over the years, who she had to work with some of them for years before it came back to them what happened when they were 6 or 9 in the church or in the basement or in the living room or when Uncle Harry was babysitting them, etc., etc. And I remember thinking, as has happened so often, that trying to understand the complexity of a person or a family is, of course, not that different from trying to understand the economics of a city, of a country, of an epoch. It's complicated, it's multidimensional, and that overdetermination is a very good way to get it. Stop looking for the key cause of anything because it isn't there. Everything has immense causes. You can never get to all of them because there are too many. They're that 8 on its side on your shirt there. It's the infinity symbol that overdetermines everything. So, what that does? It makes every explanation partial. It makes every explanation insufficient. It makes every explanation provisional. And you know what that guards against? Absolute truth. Nobody has that. In order to know absolutely, you have to know all the overdeterminants, but they are infinite. And if the concept of infinite has any meaning, it's precisely that it's not finite. That's what the word means. And now you're stuck. If the determinants are not finite, your rendition of them isn't finished either. And it means nobody can be Hitler, nobody can be Stalin, nobody's in a position to, or the Pope, or Joe Biden, or anybody else. I don't know if this is all too much or too dispersed, but it's what a Marxist economist in the United States in our time has to say.